I think I straight away start from the beginning. First of all, again, Healthy Building Network, thanks for the invitation. I've been joining your events a few times now, and I always really feel honored to be here to create awareness for healthy buildings and especially how lighting and daylight can contribute to that. I want to tell you more about Nature Connect today because it's one of the lighting innovations in Signify. It used to be Philips Lighting, better known in the past. And what we did, and Pete already mentioned it today, is that we looked into a solution because we spent 90% of our time indoors. And if you think about it, multiply 90% to your age, that's the time we spent in our lives indoors. And luckily enough, of course, we already are aware of that and that it can be an issue. So we see a trend in biophilic design. It's also mentioned before today. And for those who don't know it, biophilic design is actually a concept that's based on the connection between humans and our inherent affinity with nature. And therefore, you also see that a lot of environments are actually designed nowadays with more plants, more wooden materials, and also, of course, bringing a lot of daylight into the new buildings. For example, with big atriums, but also there are a lot of spaces, unfortunately, that don't have that solution. But also because there are a lot of spaces that, or like Pete also mentioned, a lot of buildings, 90% is renovation. So we don't have that nice atrium option. But we know that actually bringing the natural element of lighting is also crucial to have that comfortable and pleasant workspace, because I think all of you, this is a good example, we really like to go outdoors after a while. If you sit here the whole day, you probably struggle a bit more to concentrate than you are in the atrium next to here. So we know that daylight helps to make people feel more energetic. Of course, it supports our natural day rhythm to stay active during the day, but also to feel and sleep better at night. It also boosts creativity, and it creates a more vibrant and joyful atmosphere. So the space just looks more spacious and nice. So that's what we said, okay, let more natural light into your life again. We know it supports all these things like mood, energy levels, comfort, and so on. And we also see that research confirmed that. Like, we see it in schools, we see it in healthcare systems, but also offices. People just report a better well-being, they are more productive, they are also more creative, and so on. I won't go into detail. If you have any questions, we have a lot of background research. But if you think about lighting, and daylight especially, if you look into the graph, it really shows clearly that the contribution of daylight is very limited in an average building. So after 2 meters from the window, the contribution in terms of lighting is just negligible. So this means that 60 to 70% of an average building space is completely depending on artificial lighting. And if you look into this sort of image, you will clearly see that even if you have a space which is connected to the windows, only the first 2 meters really benefit from it. And I'm not even talking about the indoor spaces where a lot of people working. I was in the Maastricht hospital earlier this week, because, for example, all the examination rooms or the people, spreekkamers where the polyklinieken are, they're just doing all these conversations with patients all the time without any access to daylight. So just an example of spaces where we really see a need for solutions like this. Also, to give you a little bit of perspective, when we have a day outdoors, even if it's cloudy or not, we have around 10 to 100,000 lux, which is the amount of light that your eye is supposed to. In an office, but also healthcare, education, it's 300 lux to 500 lux, which is the amount of light conform the Bouwbesluit and the standards, which is actually, of course, quite a gap. So we said, what can we do to really extend that effect of light on your health and well-being? So we developed a solution which we call Nature Connect, which provides more lighting. Of course, not the amount of light that we have outdoors, because we still want to be sustainable. But we know that a certain light level, like around 1,000 to 1,200 lux, is suppressing your sleep hormone in a natural way, like the same as the sun is doing that for you. But next to the amount of light, we also looked at the effect, that is that biophilic effect, a connection having with nature. So we reproduce sort of a skylight. I really have people that really don't know that it's just a lamp. They really are surprised by the fact that it's not real. But what it does, it simulates the blue spectrum of daylight. So an average LED has a gap, as you can see a little bit in the bottom, in the blue spectrum. And what we try to do also with that skylight is to put that in to make sure that you still feel energized during the day, but it also, again, supports the sleep at night. So if you look at the solution in total, it's a skylight that I just showed. It's also a combination of daylight, and what we find really important as third part of the concept is to include illumination of walls, because that's in the end where you're looking at the vertical field and not so much the horizontal one. What it does during the day, of course, it's sort of a dynamic lighting system, because I think the video is not working, but that's okay. Following the rhythm of the sun. But we also know from experience that people really like personal control. So we designed a sort of very dummy-proof user interface with also 3 options that you can sort of overrule the situation that an activity that you want to support. So for example, if you have a brainstorm session after lunch, you put it on a sort of energized setting, but I also use it in coffee corners, and you want to do sort of a, a relaxed setting at the afternoon. It makes spaces, the same as you do at home, way more flexible in how you can use them. These are just some project examples to show you the difference. This is our office in Edge West in Amsterdam. On the left side, it's perfectly high office compliant lighting, 500 lux, uniformity is good. On the right side, we place an island. It's not furnitured yet, but you can already clearly see what's happening, and we're also measuring here which room is choosing more. I think you can know what will be the result. On the other hand, there are some other examples, because apparently, mainly also in big cities in London, Paris, a lot of workspaces are just in the basement. So people are just sitting there whole days having meetings and really get tired at the end of the day. So they are super enthusiastic of having such solutions. The same for a big developer in Poland, Skanska. A lot of meeting rooms without any access to daylight, but also in healthcare. We had an intern doing a lot of research for us, because she did medical informatics at the Maastricht University, and she said a lot of innovations in healthcare are indeed related to how to be more efficient in providing the health or the care, but not so much in the physical environment. But there's, of course, a lot of shortages in health people. There's a lot of sick absenteeism. So how can you prevent that? So this is a nurse station in an elderly care, because I think the same for elderly care yields that patient rooms and elderly homes are all located, at least have one window, because it needs to be, but all the rest is for the staff, and they are just in a sort of darkness. And it's quite interesting, if it's not a significant research, but one of the nurses came to me and she said, I always had migraines, and since we have new lighting, it's just gone. Another example is like I already mentioned, the examination rooms, but this is also a hospital in Singapore to relax the kids. So they do treatment with kids, and they just notice when kids are stressed, it takes more time to do the treatment or do the research. So it really helps also in improving the time of the treatment. We already discussed it a bit. It's difficult to make a business case, at least it's not too difficult, but to convince the stakeholders that it's an interesting business case. Here, this is an example for office, but we actually did the same for healthcare, education, and so on. Because if you look to the space, for example, from a real estate developer, and you can improve the square meters where professionals can work, it actually becomes quite interesting, because you can increase the amount of square meters. And we actually also see from research that there's up to a 50% more value for spaces with or without daylight. So it also yields for commercial meeting rooms, for example. Think about an average conference room in a hotel or hospitality area. Often they are in the basement. And we know that if you have a window, it just brings more money on the table. And if you look, for example, for the office space, it's approximately 10 square meter per office employee. and the investment that you need to do with this lighting solution, the return on investment is often, it doesn't sound realistic, but it's because 90% of the cost and value is in the use of the building and not so much in the energy and the rent. So that's a little bit what I really quickly wanted to share with you today. I'm here during the lunch. If you have any further questions or anything, just let me know.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Maybe a very quick one question. I'm very bad at this, man, so thank you. It's a good assist, okay.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you for this interesting presentation. I'm especially interested in the rooms that you showed, the meeting rooms where a group of people come together, and you mentioned that this has an effect on the creativity. So I'm wondering in which way does this lighting of the room can affect how creative these teams are?
We know that if you add a sort of artificial view to the sky, it's the same with adding a view to nature, for example, that people are indeed more creative. So it's measured in a research that next to creativity, they also measure productivity, for example. You cannot have the same at the same time. So they do that. I must say we have a whole research department, so how they exactly measure the creativity, I don't know. But it is indeed independently confirmed.
Okay, and is there any relation to that with how people behave or if they are interacting with each other to become creative?
Yeah, it's indeed the collaboration. It's the same probably if you have, it's a little bit the same. I just don't know if most people notice it, but now at 7:30 in the morning it's still dark, right? So you feel less energized if you probably have to start working by now than probably 2 months ago during the summer. So it's the same a little bit if you went outdoors for a lunch break and then you come back and you have to do that brainstorm session with your team. Do you go into the basement or are you having a nice space with energizing lighting? It's just, it supports in a way that it's not very, that's the thing with physical things, it's not very clear what is influencing you, but you feel the difference. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know if it exactly answers your question.
It does, it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lisan.
Yep.
Let's give a big round of applause. And